Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 94 of the Crickpicks podcast. I'm Behram, who you can find at DefMango on Twitter. With me is someone who is making his Crickpicks debut, Mark Machado from the Merely End, and you can find him at Mark Machado on Twitter. And then we've got Jarrod, as always, who you can find literally everywhere. And just before we get into everything, I'd like everyone to know that all of our shows on the Good Areas Network are powered by our supporters on Patreon. And you can become one of them by going to Patreon/Good Areas Podcast. Then you can enjoy ad-free content. You can talk to us exclusively. Not Mark, though. He's boring. He's not a part of our Patreon subs. And also, you can give us Crickpicks podcast recommendations. So, also for those of you who are new to Crickpicks, what we do on the show is that we take any generic cricket category and we draft our, top 5 or top 3 or top 4, whatever each, in a snake-style draft competition. So the pick order goes 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. And today's topic is a really fun one. So sometimes we combine to draft teams of 12. And we wanted to invite Mark to the show. I asked him what his, suggestions were. And he's come up with a solid one. We will be combining to draft an ultimate ODI World Cup team of winners. So just those people who have won the ODI World Cup. And there's another catch to this.
The Men's World Cup.
Yes, the Men's World Cup, true.
Yeah.
And there's another catch to this, is that you cannot pick more than one player per edition. So, for instance,
can I add another catch?
Yeah.
What if we did it from 75 till now and only one of us gets to veto an addition?
Ooh, I don't mind that.
So Mark has to start at 75, right? And then the last pick is obviously 23, unless we decide to skip 23. So you have to do them in order. Or is that too much? Have I blown your mind, Mark?
I think you've blown my mind as well.
Yeah. Hold on. Do I then have to pick in order as well if we did that
yeah,
way?
so if you were picking first, you would have to pick from the 75 World Cup. Of course, you could skip the 75 World Cup if you wanted to. But you could skip from the 75. Then I'm second, so I would have to do 79. Behram's third, he would have to do 83, right? But we get one person gets a skip if there's like a year that they just don't have anyone or it's not going to fit. Because this is what you told me, Mark. I haven't looked this up. There's 13 editions, and we're obviously picking 12 players.
Yep. So there will be one World Cup that misses out, which makes this more fun. I'm fine with this. Honestly, Jarrod never comes up with the rules. If there's one time that he wants to, I'm game.
I just don't want to ruin Mark's life. That's all, because he now has first pick.
So what I mean is, I don't have. Does that mean I have to pick an opener from 75?
No.
Okay. We're not going that far. Although, could we? Right. No. Maybe that's another episode, though. That's a whole other thing if we could actually go that far, and you have to pick the 12 in order as they come up.
But I was like, I bet you two could probably do that. And I was like, I'm not sure I'd be able to do that. I don't think
that would be. I don't even know if I would know the openers in the 75 team. Yeah. I think Greenwich would have opened. Haynes wouldn't have been there. I don't even know who he opened with. Would it have been Roy Fredericks? No, so we won't do that. But we start at 75 and we go through. So some of us are going to get the good World Cups. Some of us are going to get the shit World Cups. Someone's going to have to make a decision on whether 1987 gets the arse or, whatever. 96, when the lesser teams won.
I mean,
that's the greatest World Cup of all time.
Imagine.
The one I would 96. The one off the top of my head I want to skip because it's caused me and my therapist the most amount of conversation is 2011. But
I was actually thinking 2007 is an interesting one to skip because by that stage you've picked a lot of Australian players in a row anyway, right? Like it's like 2007 we can skip. Anyway, let's see what happens. Let's see how the cards fall.
I don't want to rob Jarrod of the opportunity to pick Mike Valletta in 87, of course, to keep wicket in this team.
How good would it be to get Mike Valletta into this fucking lineup, by the way?
Anyway, Mark, you suggested this topic. What did you have in mind? Where did it come from? It's your debut on Crickpicks. What do you have to say?
So actually, because I was looking at this before we came on, I suggested the ultimate ODI 11 of players that haven't won the World Cup. And then somehow in our conversation, it turned into this, which actually I think is as good. But also because when I got thinking about players who haven't won it, it's basically, there's quite a few, there's some decent England players and a lot of South Africans.
Kiwis? You could probably fit a couple of Kiwis in, couldn't you?
And a few Kiwis. And I suspect that's a great topic.
No, let's do that. We'll do that next time you're on, man. That is a good topic.
Yeah.
But this is good too.
We might have done that one though. Honestly, I'll have to check. But
can I tell people what topic you came to me with?
Oh, don't. That's a spoiler. And Jarrod is the person who suggested you for that particular topic because I really wanted to do it with him, and we don't trust anyone else to know enough about it.
I had to, but basically the topic was it Aussies who didn't play as much Test cricket as they should have, and I was like, I am not the right person to do that with.
We're gonna have to get Brettig or Gideon Haig for that one.
Yeah, we'll get some uber nerd on. I tell you what, I might get Bryden Coverdale to come on now that he's a big celebrity in Australia as a quizmaster. I'll try and get him to come on more.
Yeah, well, we'll probably do that with him, and thanks for the spoiler, Mark. Now everyone knows what we're up to. But anyway, since we are nice enough, and even though you've kind of pissed me off, we've given you first pick for this, Mark.
Well, if we're going with the 75 thing, I'm going to have to go with Viv Richards. Yep. Obviously, I think he's the obvious pick, and I think we'll all agree with that. One off, if not the greatest cricketer of his generation, and somebody who people will be talking about as a cricketer in 100 years, I suspect.
Yeah, I think he was the only... It's not as good a team when you have a look at it, as you probably remember. Obviously, Clive Lloyd was incredible in the final, but it's by 79 and 83 when they really become an incredible side. So I think 75, they're still sort of assembling a little bit more. It's before they start winning all the test matches, right? So I think Viv is the obvious answer to that. The only issue you have is that he's also maybe the obvious answer to 79, but we now cannot pick him.
Yes. I mean, it is a tough one, and I think you have that pick anyway, 79.
I do.
Yeah.
So I will go Joel Garner in 79.
So I thought you might go Michael Holding because I opened the numbers for 1979, and Michael Holding took 8 wickets in 4 innings at an average of 13.25 and economy of 2.5.
Yeah, he was really good, but Joel Garner's arguably in the top 3 greatest bowlers of all time in ODI cricket.
Yeah, I mean, he won our ODI knockouts round, right? He's the champion, the best ODI bowler of all time, according to Good Areas. But it's really fascinating how you both have gone for great players, obvious picks. So, Viv Richards makes most all-time ODI teams, and Joel Garner, as you've just mentioned, he is probably the most underrated ODI bowler of all time and one of the best ever. But you guys have gone for quality over how they performed in the actual tournament. That's a strategy.
Yeah. Well, you could have picked Viv Richards in 79 because... But even then, you could argue that there was a better innings played than his actual innings played, in the final. But I just think that these are the 2 obvious players from those 2 additions to pick.
All right, then
Could I ask you a question, Behram, because he's a historian of the game. Behram, I think you're just a few years younger than me, but I have obviously, because I wasn't there, I have no concept of how big the World Cup was then, or how small it was, and what kind of impression it made. So, at the time of those 2 early World Cups, when they were still playing 60 overs, right? How much impression did it make in the cricket world?
It was quite small. Part of the reason was they would play multiple games in one day, and they could only broadcast one game, right? So there's a lot of games that were played that no one saw, which is remarkable now, being that us seeing the games is what makes the World Cup its money. But, if you go back, I know it's the next World Cup, but in 83, a lot of those incredible games, that Kapil Dev one, there's a story with Kapil Dev, it's like the BBC were on strike and that's why we have no footage. That's not exactly what happened. The reason we have 0 footage of Kapil Dev is because the BBC were on strike. But no one was planning on broadcasting that game anyway. Right. What you would have had is 1 camera for news footage that we didn't get. Right. And so a lot of those early games, you didn't see anything. And you got to remember, the West Indies don't really become like a cultural hit until the late 70s. So 75 is kind of done a little bit in the dark. And I'm pretty sure the opening day of the 75 World Cup, there's like 4 games played or 3 games played. So how could you even cover that kind of a tournament correctly? Like, then you've got like 4 days off before the next round of games is being played. So it wasn't really 83 was the point at which people were starting to go, wait a minute, how are we going to watch this? And then obviously when Pakistan, it's just Pakistan and India in 87, isn't it? It's not Sri Lanka. That's the following one, isn't it? When India get involved in 87, were there any games in Pakistan in 87 as well?
Yeah. There was a semi-final in Lahore that Pakistan lost.
That's right.
Yep.
So when those 2 teams get involved, they start to play it a little bit more for TV. And that's the big difference. That's when World Cups become World Cups. But realistically, it's 92 when it explodes, right? Because you do that, it's broadcast properly. Like, Australia was so far ahead of everyone else, and those games were absolutely massive. It's a good time zone for the day-night games into Asia. Like, just a few different things happened almost perfectly in that World Cup. So you could make an argument 92 is the first real World Cup, and the others are a little bit more in the dark, just because of the way they're played. But 87 gave it a bit of a go. But certainly, 75 and 79, they weren't even that... There isn't really all that much coverage in English newspapers, if you go back, because... They were like, it wasn't Test cricket being played by England. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't county cricket. That's what they were set up to cover. They weren't set up to cover this other thing.
Yeah, I mean, 60 over games were a bit of a bore anyway, I'd imagine. But 92, 92 does like kind of change the whole game. But people talk about colored clothing and white ball and floodlights, all of that fun stuff. What they forget is the theme song, right? Now, all Pakistan fans will tell you that the theme song of that World Cup is goated. And we've had some good ones, but yeah, I mean, just wanted to mention that. Anyway.
Well, one day you can do a Crickpicks on the best theme songs from... All I remember is the 2003 one, because they played it on every time there was a boundary hit, they played a clip of the theme song. Do you remember? Like, so you just had that soundtrack in your head every time someone hit any highlights package in that entire tournament seemed to have the same song being played under it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there have been some fun ones. Anyway, I've got back-to-back picks now. Explain to me how the skip thing works again.
Let's say you got to 83. Let's say you got to 1983 and you're like, nothing happened in the 1983 World Cup. I don't want to use Maiden Lull. You could have 1987 as your next pick if you wanted to. So of course, you would get cancelled off the internet if you did this. If that's the World Cup that you skip, Behram, it might be the end of you.
Of course it would be. But anyway, what I was trying to figure out is that even if I skip, it's still my turn, which is fine.
Yeah, you don't miss your turn.
Can I skip multiple?
No.
Okay.
Because then we run out.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, you can only skip... one person can skip one World Cup, and that's it. So essentially what we have to decide is which is the dullest, least interesting World Cup team ever, and that's the team we have to skip.
All right, so I'm not skipping 83, obviously, because, being a Pakistani, skipping India's first World Cup win would probably, get me fired eventually because people would be so pissed.
There's also a very obvious pick in this one. I didn't find this one very hard.
I mean, look, anyone in my position would probably pick Kapil Dev, so I've gone with Kapil Dev. He was the World Cup winning captain, that 175 versus Zimbabwe that no one saw on TV. Anyone who was there must have seen it in the flesh, but that's it. That's all we know of that 175. But India were losing that game, and he kind of, went berserk with the bat. Of course, he can take the new ball in this team. Potentially, he could captain it, although I feel like there'll be other captains who'll come around later in this draft. So, right, after the two West Indians, we will have Kapil Dev joining them. And I am now going to skip 1987.
Oh my! I made the joke beforehand that was the one we were going to skip.
Yeah. Sorry, just before we move on, can I ask a few questions? Sorry, I know I'm like disrupting the format here.
This is the format. Disrupting the format is the format.
Okay, about 83. Firstly, is it the best thing that ever happened that actually that innings wasn't caught on camera, and actually if it was caught on camera, then the myth around it wouldn't have been built, because it's a marketing exercise. So it's much better that this magical thing happened and no one can go back and see it. And my next question would be to Behram specifically. Obviously, there is a lot of politics around India-Pakistan now. How is this victory seen now? Because I know at the time it's painted to South Asians that this was a big moment for South Asian people across the world, but how does Pakistan see it?
I feel like
nothing much to discuss there, guys.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think anyone looks at that World Cup win from a political lens at all, because, it's one of those earlier ones, and India's, underdog story in that final specifically, and how they actually played well throughout that World Cup. I mean, there's a movie out on this World Cup, right? So it's a popular one in that regard, that everyone knows a lot about it. But no, I feel like it's an inflection point. A lot of people view it as that cricket tends to explode after it. And I mean, ODI cricket was in its infancy. And after that, there's a bit of a boom in the late 80s, especially in cricket in Australia, right? Like that's where ODI cricket was kind of, that was the cultural hub of ODIs, I suppose, up until, later on, maybe in the 90s. So I don't think anyone views this as any, from a political lens at all. At least that's what I feel. And what was your question to Jarrod?
Well, the first one was, essentially, was it a bigger innings because it wasn't shown? Right. I don't think so, because I think if there are cameras there, it's just that it was a sort of innings that really, outside of Viv Richards, we hadn't seen many of, right? And the fact that it was an Indian with power, when Indians have been known as being the best technicians, but not necessarily power players, I think it probably still would have gone down as a Botham-like knock if we had footage of it. The big difference might have been, though, that Zimbabwe attack was like spinners and medium pacers and swing bowlers or whatever. So I'm not sure how much it would have lasted now when you're watching people who looked like they were coming up and bowling like club bowlers. Like that Zimbabwean attack, it was even through the 90s, right? At times you were just like, they were just all nagging medium pacers, right? And sort of defensive spinners. So maybe that would have affected it a little bit. Can we also talk about the fact that Dean Jones has been slighted?
Yeah, I mean, just in a bit though, because it's time for a break. You guys are watching Crickpicks with Jarrod, Behram, and Mark. So we'll be back in like half a minute. Go nowhere.
This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. If you want to be part of the community that makes content like this, head over now. My latest book is The Art of Batting. It delves deep into how the best players ever made their runs. Get your copy today.
Welcome back to Crickpicks. You're with Jarrod, Behram, and Mark, and we are attempting to assemble an ultimate ODI World Cup team of winners only, one per edition. In like, obviously, there's all of Jarrod's rules which are being employed as we speak, because I've skipped 87. What a boring final. Supposed to be an India-Pakistan game. We get England versus Australia instead. And look, I mean, as much as I want to pick Mike Valletta, or, you know, apologies to Dean Jones and David Boone, I just feel like there's no real out-and-out performer over there who gets into my perfect 12. I didn't have 87 in the perfect 12 that I made, so as unfortunate as it is, it's being skipped. But
I think Dean Jones or Craig McDermott are the two that are both fantastic players, but they don't end up with the kind of legacy of, I mean, you can't compare them to Viv Richards, Joel Garner, or Kapildev, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think that's fair. Also, Dean Jones bats at 3, and we already have Viv at 3, so there's also fit issues on that.
Yeah, plus, you know, before this podcast started and we didn't have this rule, I really didn't want to do 92. I had thought to myself that I'm going to let someone else make that extremely tough
And it's
decision.
ended up with you anyway.
Yeah, it has.
It's not a tough decision. It's an easy decision.
It's a tough decision in the sense that you've got Imran versus Wasim. And
no, you don't. You have Wasim.
Yeah,
Imran's not one of the great ODI players of all time. Wasim is. What are we talking about here?
But you've got to look at what Imran did in that World Cup with the bat as Pakistan's pinch blocker.
Pinch blocker.
In the top order,
if you
right?
pick a fucking pinch blocker in this side, I will cancel you.
Now you're influencing my decision.
You're not thinking about it holistically enough, though. Would Pakistan, because the mythos is that if Imran's not there, they just aren't getting to the final, right?
There's that as well.
Captains them through it.
I
right?
mean,
that's got to stand for something, though.
He's the one who wanted them to play like Cornet Tigers. He's the one with the cancer hospital mission. He's the one who's got a reputation in Australia as the guy who shags everyone. Like, there's a lot going on over here, guys. You know?
There's a lot going on over here, except there's a much better ODI player. I would have had him as the 3rd pick in this side.
Anyway, we do have Kapil in this team, although 2015 is going to get tricky if we pick a left-arm seamer right now. But I don't care.
No, it's
not. Yeah, you may have influenced my decision over here, so might as well go with the leading wicket taker when it comes to fast bowlers in ODI cricket. Let's pick Waz. And I mean, look, 23.5 is what he averaged in the format. He can also smash it. In fact, in the 92 World Cup, there are a lot of valuable batting innings by Wasim Akram, especially in the final as well. So, yeah, I mean, you're talking about someone who would also make an all-time ODI team. And he was the player of the final as well. And he was pure magic, absolute magic. So now it's back to you, Jarrod. And you get to ruin Mark's evening by picking someone in 96, right?
I think that's the best thing here.
Was this orchestrated by you? Because you were quite certain that 87 will be skipped.
I'm actually trying to remember what you... No, because if I was orchestrating, I would have made sure I picked 87 so that one of you had to boot out a better side. I would have been like, Mike Valletta at 7. Okay. I think the better player in that World Cup is Aravinda de Silva. But Murali is the legend. But we still have chance for Warne later on. And I wonder how many better number 4s have there been than Aravinda. And just let me look at the rest of my list to see if there's another number 4.
So in my team, it was Aravinda 96. And that would have been my first pick, also to piss off Mark. But now we're here.
I think
Look, I love Murali more than the next pair, but I'd still pick Aravinda for this.
Yeah, I think in this World Cup, he was the better player. But also, just looking at my list, I don't have like a bunch of number 4s, whereas we know we have Warne in 99 if we want to use him, right? And if we don't, then we have to manufacture a spinner. So good luck, Mark, if he doesn't pick Warne. But yeah, I'll go 1996, Aravinda de Silva, one of the most incredible performances ever in a tournament that we've seen, just completely on top of his game. And also Arcee, a little bit like Shafali Varma last night, just also asked some wickets at important times as well, despite the fact not particularly a great bowler.
Yeah, I mean, look, he still gives us an option, and like, it's a tragedy that they picked the player of the tournament prior to the knockouts or whatever, or the semis. Yeah. I can't quite recall. So Aravinda was the player of that tournament, but Sanath walks away with the record. I feel like, for someone who literally, in a tournament where a lot of teams weren't touring Sri Lanka and then no one was taking them seriously, and all of a sudden he turns up when it matters versus India in India, and then, in Lahore versus Australia in that final, even if there was due whatever, Mahela and Sangha rate him higher than themselves. So I suppose Aravinda gets to be in this team, right?
One thing we talk about Murali quite a lot is that you don't get Mahela and Sangha if you don't have Aravinda, because he's the kind of pacemaker of it, and he's just brilliant, isn't he? I barely ever meet a member of Kent Cricket Club who doesn't spend 15 minutes giving me a sermon about him, which I'm happy to hear. I love it. But yeah, I think this is his World Cup, isn't it? This is his moment. And what an extraordinary innings he played in the final.
Yeah.
Right?
Stuff of legend.
Easy. Done.
Yeah. All right. Mark, back-to-back picks for you. You could really screw our team over if you don't go 199, but I suppose there is that option.
I am gonna pick Shane Warne against my kind of better judgment, because in the great cricket debate of our time, Murali versus Warne, I obviously fall in the Murali end, but Shane Warne, that was a strange tournament for me, because it was where I lived, and I assumed that Sri Lanka would just win it. Because the only other tournament I'd seen as a 10-year-old was Sri Lanka winning, so I just assumed we'd win it, and they didn't. Obviously, they had a terrible tournament. But I actually, when I think about that tournament, I think that cricket, in a way, was probably in a bit of a bad shape as well, in terms of teams weren't doing what they were meant to be doing. They were kind of underperforming. It should have probably been a tournament that South Africa won, because they were kind of building a bit of momentum and a bit of a narrative through it. And in a way, you kind of think Shane Warne at that time was the franchise around kind of cricket, right? I'm sure you can talk a bit more about that, Jarrod.
Yeah, and also remember, he was going through a crisis of confidence. So he's ended up being a god, but he was really struggling. And I know Damien Fleming has talked about this a lot, of Warne was shot. He was in the West Indies. He'd been dropped by Steve Waugh. So him and Steve Waugh never really recovered that relationship, right? His arm still wasn't back to where it had been, because he'd had the shoulder reconstruction. And he's playing in England, right? Which, okay, is good, but it's not like he's not at home. He's not in Asia. So it was a World Cup dominated by swing bowlers outside of Warne, right? And then he just comes in and just completely dominates, all the way through to the end, and was the key player for Australia. Obviously there's Glenn McGrath, who we still have a chance of picking 2 more times. It's the only World Cup Warne won, by the way, of course, which is ridiculous. But Glenn McGrath and Steve Waugh obviously played a big part in this World Cup as well. But realistically, I think it's known as sort of Shane Warne's World Cup, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he is the poster boy, I feel, of that World Cup win. And, there were cricket games, video games that were kind of built around Shane Warne after that. It was Brian Lara, Shane Warne. Those were the 2 games, right? And even in this World Cup, I feel like ultimately people only remember knockouts, right? That's what it all comes down to. And Shane Warne, he wins Australia that game versus South Africa in the semi-final, the way he kind of pegs things back. And he was always amazing versus Pakistan. They never truly quite understood how to play him. And that kind of unfolds in the final as well. So yeah, I mean, we needed a spinner. We've got Warne. So good job, Mark.
You got another job now, Mark. Yeah. You're up again.
Yeah, and you have.
I'm up again.
You go back to back here.
Yeah. And
it's
going to be another Aussie.
I hadn't even realised.
Yeah, you got to pick another Australian.
And it doesn't make sense to pick punter, because you've got With.
You've totally skiddled me. I was preparing. I thought I was going to have to pick 2011. Hold on, let me have a get the final up again. Well, looking at the final, so I thought I was going to have to pick the next one at one point. So I was going to, in 2007, I was going to try and pick Gilchrist. But I think for this series, you've got to pick Ponting, right? Because...
Whoa.
Well...
We've already got a number 3 and a number 4.
Yeah.
So for me, I'll stick my hand up here and say, if you've got 12 world-class players, they will figure out how to make it work.
Okay.
Oh my God, he's become Pat Cummins over here, that it doesn't matter what position you bat. Oh my God.
Also, I just think I think there's a conspiracy happening here. I think Mark doesn't want to pick Gilchrist because of the squash ball incident in 2007.
So
what about McGrath?
Yeah.
There's a spot for McGrath.
There's a spot for a lot of people other than like a middle order.
I still want Ponting.
Number 3 or number 4 batter. Okay. He's gone punter.
So for me, basically tactics, and in cricket tactics, one of the ways they express themselves as batting order is the least important thing in the side. The two things that wins you games are the skill of the individual players and the mentality of the players. And that's why for me, I will always pick a Ricky Ponting, even if he has to bat in the wrong position.
But I would argue
think he's got the best mentality.
I would argue that Glenn McGrath and Adam Gilchrist are both better players than Ricky Ponting when it comes to the value they bring to a team.
I agree.
You've got the best new ball bowler of all time. So, good luck any opposition opening batter having to go up against that. Or you have a guy who can open the batting and also bat number 6 or 7. They just never used him that way, but could have batted number 6, number 7, and is also your wicket keeper.
Yep.
I'm just throwing that out there, Mark, that if you're looking at it purely from a cricket perspective, I still think there's an argument. But you pick Ricky Ponting, it's fine.
Who do you think's a better player, 2003 Ponting or 2007 Gilchrist?
Well, 2007 Gilchrist is largely remembered for the final, but you're also not going to get a better wicket-keeping option. And had you picked him...
Well, there is another pretty good wicket-keeping option, to be fair.
True, there is.
But that does mean that someone else has to miss out on this side as well.
Yeah.
So
basically, we've skipped 87, so there's going to be one less Aussie player anyway. And now we're going to miss out on one of McGrath or Gilchrist for sure, because 2015, neither of those guys feature.
Yeah. So we've got Warner and we've got Ponting. So then I have 2007.
Yep.
So I have to make a decision between Gilchrist. I think there's 2 more wicket keepers coming up that can be picked. Right? So I'm happy to, and I don't think there's let me just look at my list. I don't think there's another better
There are some seamers, buddy.
There's not that many seamers.
I feel like there are a few.
Yeah.
Well, it's a tough call.
Yeah. If I go Gilchrist, we do have it opening, but do you know what? Hayden as well, by the way. You could pick Hayden here. I think Glenn McGrath is one of the greatest ODI players of all time. I'll pick Glenn McGrath here.
All right, so we've...
Can I just add, when I ran this through various AI options, and it kept telling me to pick Matthew Hayden, and I kept trying to stress it, and I was like, do you think he's one of the best openers to ever win an ODI World Cup? And it kept saying he was. I don't know. There must be something in his deep in his data that says that he's the most likely person to win you a cricket game. I don't know.
Yeah, that's weird because.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got... who have you got here? You've got Greenwich. Then you've got Sanas J. Surya.
Yep.
Mark Waugh, Gilchrist, Sachin. There's a lot of guys who I would have slightly ahead of Hayden. That World Cup, of course, Hayden was an absolute monster in 07. And Gilchrist was only good because of the squash ball.
Of course.
As I believe there was at least one book written in Sri Lankan cricket which had an entire chapter on how Australia cheated by him having the squash
ball. That's our
ball.
constitution in Sri Lanka now. It's the whole thing. You're not even allowed to bring squash balls in.
It is actually quite funny when you think about it that in 2003 Ricky Ponting had springs in his bat, and in 2007 there was the squash ball incident. It's incredible. None of the other teams sort of using a squash ball or springs in their bats.
Yeah, I suppose so.
earlier in the year when Australia were over and Steve Smith was playing Test cricket in Gaul and he's wearing a whoop. You know, one of those things that monitor all your things.
Yeah.
I just did a totally tongue-in-cheek tweet, and I was like, when he was on scoring big runs, and I was like, whatever this device is clearly cheating. And it kind of went semi-viral in Sri Lanka.
Whoops.
Yeah, well, I mean...
All right, Behram, stop stuffing around.
I'm gutted that Gilly is not going to be a part of this team, because now you guys have kind of stiffed me when it comes to 2011, right? I wanted to pick Yuvraj, and now I'm going to have to go somewhere else, either opening batter or keeper, because nothing else really makes sense to me, and I will delay that decision.
If it makes you feel better, I still think there's a wicketkeeper further on.
Oh, is there? Anyway, I shall make my decision during an ad break. You guys are watching Crickpicks with Jarrod, Behram, and Mark, and we will be back in like half a minute, so go nowhere.
This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. If you want to be part of the community that makes content like this, head over now. My latest book is The Art of Batting. It delves deep into how the best players ever made their runs. Get your copy today.
Welcome back to Crickpicks. You guys are with Jarrod, Mark, and Behram, and we are currently assembling an ultimate ODI World Cup winning team of just winners. Yeah, so I mean, I've got 2011 now, the big Indian victory. Originally wanted to pick Yuvraj Singh, but what's our team looking like right now? Just so that I can make an educated call over here.
We have no openers. We have a blank spot, I would say, at number 6/wicketkeeper. And obviously the 12th is missing. So it's Viv at 3, Aravinda 4, Ponting 5, Kapildeb 7, Wasim 8, Warne 9, McGrath 10, and Garner 11.
So no more
decent
fast
bowling
bowlers.
lineup.
Yeah, I mean, the bowlers are done. I don't see anyone getting ahead of those guys, or at least at this position. So, man, you know what? Screw it. You pick the wicketkeeper. I'm going Sachin. We have to go for an opener at this point, and might as well pick
We
the guy.
also just need an opener, yes.
Yeah, I mean, might as well pick the guy who scored the most ODI runs in history. So, yeah, I mean, Sachin, this was his final World Cup. He lifted the trophy at the Wankhede in Mumbai. And it was like also kind of fairy tale stuff. Everyone kind of lifted him on their shoulders. And he had his moments. He scored a few centuries. And I feel like it was a culmination of what was a really long arc. And, you know, the legend was kind of solidified over there. So, yeah, I mean, I suppose he has to get in. Even if, you know, Yuvraj was player of the tournament and MS Dhoni is an elite keeper, you've got to go with one of the best opening batters of all time. So, Sachin it is.
I think even if you had a spare spot, I think it makes more sense to go with Sachin than it would have with Yuvraj. And obviously Dhoni is the guy who kind of misses out there. But
yeah.
That's
that India lineup though, that's the thing of nightmares, isn't it? It's like every single player is like a superstar. There's a whole mythos, there's like cults following them around and everything. It's incredible, isn't it?
No doubt. It's an incredible lineup.
Yeah.
Anyway, now that takes me to 2015. Man, I got some really shit World Cups in this, right? Because you picked all the bowlers.
Now I'm even happier that I came up with this.
So I can't pick Stark anymore. He's done, and he had a goated 2015 campaign.
What about as 12th?
I could pick Stark as 12th, but then again, why am I picking 12th when I can pick someone from a main team, like a frontliner?
You can pick another opener.
So I'm not going for Brad Haddon, that's for sure. That I can confirm.
But I'm saying you can pick another opener.
Yeah, I could. Hipster pick would be Glenn Maxwell, not going there either. And I could pick up another opener, or I could pick up James Faulkner. That would piss a lot of people off.
I don't know how you... I'm not sure if James Faulkner gets a bowl in this lineup, to be honest.
Smudger doesn't fit because obviously, you know, we have too many middle order bats. All right, screw it. Then give me Davey Warner. Might as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who did Warner open with?
Warner opened with Aaron Finch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was Watto not in that side at all? Or was he further down the order?
Watto was in that side, but I mean, I'd rather have Warner.
No, that's fine.
We've got enough bowling options, and then, you know, we can have a left.
I was thinking Watto because he played in a couple. Watto was incredible in 07, by the way. Like, we didn't mention him. And his ODI career is not remembered, you know, perhaps the way that it should have, but he was fantastic. But yeah, Warner is also absolutely fine there, right? Like, there's no problem with that.
My memory of Watto 2015 is him versus Behram, right? So I'm not sure I want to pick him. He does survive that spell, though, and he wins Australia the game. But Davey Warner is probably, his white ball record is not spoken about enough. He is an all-time great, especially in Australia where this World Cup was played, and kind of gives us a left-hand, right-hand opening pair as well. Yep. Also, Sachin is too nice. We need someone like Warner at the other end to piss the opposition team off. So
just for those who've forgotten about Shane Watson's ODI career, though, average of 40 with the bat, strike rate of 90, and then took 168 wickets at 31 at an economy of 5. Yeah, I think because I'm only saying that because there are going to be people going, well, how could you pick Warner ahead of Warner? I'm like, quite easily is the answer to that. But there's no problem with Warner either. And he's more of an opener, whereas Warner kind of bats everywhere in the ODI side a little bit more, doesn't he?
Already we've missed out on Gilly. So I need one of those, Australian opening batters who can fuck shit up. But also, do you guys realize that we've kind of screwed ourselves over for 2023? Travis Head won't make this team.
I do know that. Yeah. I'm very aware of that, but I don't have that pick, so I don't care at all.
I'm done. I am very dissatisfied with this draft. I wish I had said no to your little tweak that you kind of came up with.
This has made it so much better. We should do this more often because this is so much harder than just pick your team. And I'm going to pick Josh Butler as our wicketkeeper.
Yeah, that's what I thought you'd do. But
yeah,
Stokes
so 2019. Stokes misses out. I think Butler's a better ODI cricketer than Stokes. Stokes is incredible, but not. Yeah, I would pick Butler over him as a one-day player. And with no Dhoni and no Gilchrist, I think it makes sense that Butler's probably the next guy off that list, I would have thought.
How do you guys rate this England side? Because at the time, you kind of felt like this could be like a really great England team that could go and dominate. And actually, they kind of basically work really hard to get to become world champions and then kind of plateau a little bit. Obviously, COVID comes and skittles them. And then it's just kind of fallen away and they've regressed back to the kind of English white ball average.
I just think they were old. And we didn't really factor in how old they were. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the other day, me and Harmy had a big conversation about 40 over cricket, where I was like, because he was saying, what's the point of playing the 100 at home if everyone else plays T20 cricket? And I was like, you literally won a World Cup because of all these guys played 40 over cricket? And he's like, no, they didn't. And I said, go and check. And he had no idea that Root and Stokes had played 40 over cricket, right? Now, I think you might remember, Mark, I think the last 40 over cricket in the UK was like 2009 or 2010, which means by the time they win in 2019, those guys are like 10, 11, 12, 13 years into their career. And I just, for whatever reason, we didn't notice that, right? And I will say for myself, I did do a podcast after the 2022 victory. Was it 2022 they won in Australia in T20? Where, because Wigmore and Arola released that book, and I had Roller on, and he's like, they're going to keep going. And I was like, I don't know. I feel like the next generation doesn't look as strong to me. It just doesn't look the same. So I was very, very worried about that. But here's the thing. They should have won the 2017 Champions Trophy, right? If there'd been T20 World Cups played after 2016, they'd probably win one or two in there as well. So they might have ended up winning 4 or 5 trophies when they only end up winning 2. And so we would think about it as more of an era if that was the case. Because they really dominate from 2016. They went within a couple of balls of winning that game as well. But they dominate from 2016 right through to 2022. But they don't have as many trophies to win. And they lost a couple they should have won.
Yeah, I mean, the white hot revolution was very real, and it has given cricket a lot. Like, ODI cricket has changed since then. People go a lot harder at it, especially in the power play. And middle overs also kind of became the main feature, to take wickets and stuff like that. Like, it's very Liam Plunkett coded, I suppose. But it was short-lived. That said, I still feel like it's a side that people will remember, over the years, because it was like a sort of a game changer, and especially Boggs at the helm with the sort of stuff that he would say in presses, which could go instantly viral. It was a very likable team in a lot of different ways, and this was the first diverse English team and the first World Cup winning English team, right?
I also think the thing that you two kind of touched on briefly there is that particularly T20 cricket moves so rapidly now, and that actually the English white ball setup got caught up in this is the way we play, and we're not going to change the way we play because we've won stuff. But then almost by the next World Cup, it's moved on 2 or 3 times away from where the last time you've won it, and the game's left you behind again. And Morgan has been such a massive loss to their
they never replaced that, did they?
Yeah.
Also, think of Morgs coming in the middle order and sweeping in reverse sweeping and countering spin, and now this current English team is kind of completely at sea versus spin, right? You've got Duckett, who can, and he opens the batting to the. So there are times
but they didn't even want to use Duckett, right?
Yeah.
Like Duckett's there in part because of how bad the rest of them were playing spin. Like that's how much it's changed. So I think that's fair. I think if they had, I think Mark, they would have won the 2021 T20 World Cup, right? If they hadn't, I think they got 5 major injuries during that tournament. I think if they're fully fit in that tournament, they probably win it, which would mean that they would have won 2019, 2021, and 2022. It's hard to look away from them if they do that. Instead, there's a dead spot in the middle of that. And also, you could throw in that Champions Trophy they should have won as well, right? So there's a couple of moments where they didn't quite get it right when they should have. But, you know, they don't go... They're not that far away from winning, like, a whole bunch of trophies. But as India found out for ages, unless you win them, no one gives a shit, right? Like, you know...
I suppose if they had to pick one, though, the 2019 World Cup at home would have been the one. So at least they've got that,
probably,
right?
That was the one, yeah.
Anyway, Mark, you've got the last pick. Jarrod will tell you the team in a bit, but also I'd like to make you aware of the fact that technically you can skip 2023 and go back to 87. I think the rules allow that.
Whoa. I never said that, but yes, you can.
You should totally be able to do that. What if he doesn't like any good options in 2023?
That actually, I don't think that makes it any better.
I'm picking the 12th man here, aren't I?
Yeah.
Or someone who could bat at 5 ahead of Ponting.
It's because for a 12th man selection, this is actually a great team, isn't it? Because there's kind of a lot of players here who are like, they probably don't make all-time 11s, but they're kind of in the conversation around the pub, and there's some guys had one too many beers who's kind of batting for them here. Oh my gosh, I probably think Pat Cummins is my favourite Australian player of all time. Like, as in, like, I'm not going to pick him, but I'm like, as in, I just like him.
I know you like him. You don't care about what position batters bat at. You are practically Sri Lanka's Pat Cummins.
No. So Behram,
people have often said that about him.
Let me tell you.
Are you really good at hitting top of off consistently? Is that it, Mark?
I'm terrible at cricket. It's almost like a hate crime to watch me play cricket. Let me tell you my relationship with the Australian cricket team, though. Basically, they'd turn up in England every few years, and they'd batter England around, and I'd just be like, I don't like watching this from a kid growing up and born and raised here. It feels awful. Why are these grown-ass English public school boy men crying? Like, it's awful. And then the Murali thing happened, and even though I was quite young, I just instantly was like, this is awful. How can they do this to this greatest Sri Lankan cricketer of all time? Even though I probably didn't even know who Murali was. I was way too young to do it, but it was such a moment for Sri Lankans all over the world. And then obviously 96, I was quite invested in that early on. They refused to come to Sri Lanka. And then we beat them in the final. So for a long time, I had...
You've forgotten Justin Langer's incident. That should be front and center.
What, which bit of the Justin Langer
where he
story
cheats?
Are we...
Where he acts as if there's a run out or the batter has been bowled, something like that.
I thought that was against Pakistan.
No, that was probably Sri Lanka, no?
I can't even remember.
I don't remember either. But what's fascinating to me is that you're also working with Estelle at Murali, and you are basically the anti-Estelle. She loves Australia. You hate Australia.
And that particular Australia she loves.
Yeah. So I mean, I would say that kind of actually what I in my mind call like the Grand Australia team, right? So from the kind of from about 2002, it starts. Sorry, from 1992 till about 2007, where Australia had like a totally dominant side in every format. It's probably the sports team I hate the most, just because I find the characters really unlikable in it, right? And when I say, like, I love to hate it. For me, they're like pantomime villains. Like, don't come away from this thinking that guy Mark really hates Australians. Right? I don't. I really love Australians, and I really love Australia. And I really
this is the longest. Like, they're quite often in this show, people try and come up with stories just so that they can defer their picks. And Mark, you might have broken a record.
I'm not deferring the pick, but what I was going to say is this Australia team that won the last World Cup is full of players I actually quite like. And it really annoys me that I like these Australian
If you don't
cricketers.
pick Mike Valletta now, you may not be asked back on.
No, but all in all, as a 12th pick, I'm going to pick Travis Head from this World Cup because he's the player that I think you want to have on the bench if you think, shit, something's going wrong, we need to switch things up. Who can bring me a bit of magic? Though I suppose you could argue you could pick Glenn Maxwell from this 11 and put him in that position.
I was thinking Glenn Maxwell.
now that I've said that out loud, I think I want Glenn Maxwell because I like watching Travis Head, but he's just Glenn Maxwell's the big show.
Yeah. Plus, that knock versus Afghanistan, he scores 200 in a winning cause on one leg. The game's done and dusted, and somehow Australia win it. I feel like there's a solid claim for Maxwell. Plus, he fits in perfectly, right? If you want more firepower, you get rid of Punter at 5.
Yeah, and you can move Butler up. But I was thinking the other option is that you could actually move Kapil Dev to 6, was a Makram to 7, and have a Mitchell Stark at 8 and Shane Warne at 9, and go that way. It's a bit more lopsided, that kind of lineup. I think we probably needed more batting, and we don't really have that kind of more. We have Butler, but we don't really have a lot of finishing kind of batting because we didn't pick Dhoni, right, as well. And so I think Maxwell probably makes more sense kind of in that sort of that period.
Yeah. I would have gone with Maxwell as well in this particular situation, although Travis Head would have been one of my first few picks had we done it otherwise.
I tried not get caught up in the scorecards and try and look more at the data, but every time you give me an option, I'm going for the scorecard pick. That's why I was like, actually, no, I'm going to change it to Maxwell. I think that's the more sensible option here, right?
No, I think that's look. You're like, it's very rare I'd be nice to anyone on the show, but you were in a fairly nice situation. Not nice, a tricky situation here because of where you kind of ended up. But yeah, you've done it now, and I have to read out the teams.
Hold on before. Can I just ask one more question on this?
You can't.
Do you think there's an argument for picking Zampa as the 12th?
No, you've got one
person.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted 2 spinners, I suppose we haven't really given ourselves the opportunity for that. But you've now got Maxwell. So if you've got Warne, Maxwell, and Aravinda de Silva,
and Sachin,
you're not. Yeah. And Sachin. I mean, you're not that disappointed with your bowling options for spin, are you? Viv bowled a lot of spin too. So you do have some options there, but yeah, it's not particularly frontline. I don't think there's an argument for Zampa, really. Zampa and Hazelwood and Cummins are all fantastic cricketers, but I think they would be a little bit, they would actually stick out a little bit like Mike Valletta might have. Do you know what I mean? In this list, they're obviously better cricketers than Mike Valletta, but I think you would have to argue that they're not quite at the same level as, like, who's the worst cricketer on this list at the moment, right? Like, is it Aravinda maybe is the worst cricketer here? Like, that's, or Maxwell?
Maxwell, probably, right?
Like, Zampa is a long way off those guys, isn't he? And if we're talking ODI cricket, like, with all due respect, even if you took from 87 and you took McDermott or Dean Jones, I think he would be higher than Zampa.
Yeah.
Right? I just come from a cricket culture where they always just chuck a spinner in and you're not really sure why they're there. But and sometimes I just think that's how all teams are meant to be built.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I think by not picking Murali, we kind of did, and then also we kind of did hamper ourselves a little bit with spinners. I reckon a little bit more than we could have. We probably should have had 2 spinners in, because once you have Kapil Dev, you have the flexibility, right?
Yeah.
To be able to do that. I mean, also if we pick Shane Watson, you give yourself a little bit more flexibility to pick a second spinner as well. If you do that. All right, the 11 of this the 12, of this chaotic, ridiculous episode of Crickpicks is Sachin Tendulkar. I've got to get the years, don't I? Sachin Tendulkar 2011, David Warner 2015, Viv Richards 75, Aravinda de Silva 96, Ricky Ponting 03. I said 03 because Excel wouldn't let me write 03, so I had to say it in my mind. Sorry. Butler 19, Kapil Dev 83, Wasam Akram 92, Shane Warne 99, McGrath 07, Garner 79, and Glenn Maxwell 23. It's still a pretty good side, guys. I don't know how we got it, right? And apologies to the Valletta family.
Yeah. Also,
the weakness is the wicketkeeper, though, isn't it? Like, Butler's a great player, but he's not a top wicketkeeper, is he?
No, but I don't think. I mean, you've got to get so many extra edges through McGrath and Garner, right? And Akram's just going to get you bowled or LBW.
Yeah.
And Morn's going to get you bowled a lot and LBW a lot. So you're right, but I mean, maybe Kapil Dev's the guy going, every outswinger has been dropped by the keeper, right? But everyone else is like, that's fine.
He can force a run out in a super over. At least he can do that, Joss Butler.
Yeah.
Anyway,
can you make a better team to beat this side, by the way?
Yeah. Do let us know in
From
the comment section below.
Who never won the World Cup. Who's your
I don't think you can make a better team from players who haven't won a World Cup.
Yeah. That'll be a bit
I
tough.
wonder if you can make a better team from players that just in general that haven't been picked.
Okay, so let's take a stab at this. Gilly opens, right, with let's go
Jay
Haydos.
Saria?
Oh, yeah, Jesseria actually. Yeah, those two. First drop would be who do we have? We could go Ponting's picked.
Kohli.
Yes. Kohli goes first drop. Number 4 could be Smudger, maybe?
There must be a better number 4 than him. Callis?
He's never won.
He hasn't. He's never won it.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just picking. I was just picking players in general, but okay.
We could go Clive Lloyd number 4. That could be done.
Yeah, Clive Lloyd at 4.
Yeah.
At 5, you put in Travis Head.
Yes, that does work in theory. 6
At
could
6,
be Imran.
Dhoni.
Oh, Dhoni, then Imran.
Dhoni. I don't know about you and the Imran. I don't know about Imran as an ODI player.
Then who else gets in from 92, right? Like, you're not picking Rambo, are you? Even though he scored a lot of runs.
Mushtaq Ahmed.
Inzi? Inzi could make it, right?
Yeah. Anyway, it's probably not quite beating this side, is it? I think we've ended up with a pretty good side here. I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah. Also, let us know what the individual picks are so that people can,
Oh, yes, so.
tell us who won according to them.
Mark picked Viv Richards, Shane Warne, Ricky Ponting, Glenn Maxwell. I picked Joel Garner, Aravinda De Silva, Glenn McGrath, Joss Butler. I'm absolutely not winning this round online, by the way. And Behram picked Kapil Dev, Wasim Akram, Sachin Tendulkar, David Warner. Yours is so strong before you get to Warner, and that might just tip people in the other direction. But your first 3 picks are so ridiculously strong that even though Mark might have made better picks, I'm not sure he could beat you.
Yeah, I mean, I've got all the popular votes, right? I mean, picking Sachin alone would probably win this for me. So
Sachin Kapalan was him. Like that's a ridiculous triumvirate. Like compare that to I've got Garner, De Silva, McGrath as my first 3 picks, right? Like it's not the same.
True. Anyway, you guys let us know in the comments section who you think has won this round of Crickpicks, and also give us your 12s of World Cup winners, ODI World Cup winners, men's ODI World Cup winners, and we will kind of then judge whether or not your team can beat ours. Anyway, that's a wrap for this episode of the Crickpicks podcast. Just a quick reminder, you can go to goodareas.co and bookmark that webpage. That can prove to be your one-stop shop for all the fun work that we do as part of our team, whether it be written content, videos, or podcasts. And of course, as I mentioned at the start, if you want to become a paid subscriber or a patron of Good Areas, because those are the guys who power all of our shows on this network, you can go to Patreon.com/Good Areas podcast, and then you can enjoy ad-free content. You can talk to us exclusively, and you can give us our next Crickpicks podcast recommendation. So thanks for coming, Mark. Hope you had fun. And
Thanks for having me, guys.
And we don't care if you didn't.
Yeah. And yeah, if you guys like this video, then like, share, subscribe, all of that crap. We'll see you soon enough. That's all for today. Have a good one, and goodbye.
I once made a pair in a club game, which is almost impossible to do. But I've been obsessed with batting my entire life. And so I put that into my new book, The Art of Batting. Being that I'm not very good at that skill, I decided to talk to other people who were. So I hit up as many contacts as I could just to talk about batting. Rahul Dravid, Brian Lara, AB de Villiers, Kumar Sangakkara, Ross Taylor, Susie Bates, Nasser Hussain, Ian Chappell, and so many, many, many more. I wanted batters to talk about how they and their friends made runs, because that is the art of batting.